For 300,000 years, women gave birth without hospitals, without doctors, without pain relief. But here is what nobody ever shows you. What did that actually look like? Step by step, what really happened in that moment? The answer is more organized, more intelligent, and more fascinating than most people imagine. It started long before the first contraction. The moment a woman suspected she was pregnant, the entire community shifted around her. And how did she know? The same way women have always known: a missed period, nausea in the mornings, a tiredness that felt different from any other tiredness. Her body was speaking, and in a tribe where everyone lived closely together, everyone heard it. But ancient women didn't just rely on symptoms. They had tests. The ancient Egyptians, among the most sophisticated civilizations of the ancient world, had a pregnancy test that actually worked. A woman would urinate on wheat and barley seeds over several days. If the barley sprouted, a boy. If the wheat sprouted, a girl. If nothing sprouted, not pregnant. A laboratory experiment in 1963 tested this method and found it worked 70% of the time. Pregnant women's urine caused the seeds to grow. Non-pregnant women's urine had no effect. Science confirmed a 4,000-year-old Egyptian pregnancy test. Now, the Greeks also had a pregnancy test. It involved an onion, and it is exactly as strange as it sounds. A woman would insert an onion into her vagina overnight. If her breath smelled of onions the next morning, she was not pregnant. The logic being that a non-pregnant womb was open like a wind tunnel, allowing the scent to travel upward. If pregnant, the womb was sealed, no wind tunnel, no onion breath. This did not work, but it tells you something important. Ancient people were paying very close attention to the female body. They were trying, they were watching, they wanted to know. And the moment the tribe knew, everything changed. Pregnancy in an ancient tribe was not a private matter. It was a community event from the very first day. The experienced women, the mothers, the grandmothers, the women who had done this before, immediately took over. Not in an intrusive way, in a knowing way. The way a person who has walked a road many times guides someone walking it for the first time. But before the tribe could prepare her body, they had to protect something even more important: her spirit. And what they did next has been found independently on every continent on Earth. Across every ancient culture studied by anthropologists, birth was surrounded by ritual and ceremony from the very moment pregnancy was confirmed. Deities were invoked, prayers were offered, charms were worn close to the body. The ancient Egyptians had two gods specifically dedicated to protecting women in labor: Bes, a dwarf deity who frightened away evil spirits, and Taweret, a hippopotamus goddess who presided over fertility and birth. Images of both were painted on the walls of birth rooms and worn as amulets by pregnant women throughout their pregnancy. The Greeks had Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, daughter of Zeus and Hera, who was called upon the moment labor began. In ancient Rome, Juno Lucina presided over the moment a baby came into the light. In Mesopotamia, the goddess Ninhursag was the divine midwife who shaped human life from clay. Every civilization on every continent looked upward at the moment of birth, not out of ignorance, out of the profound understanding that what was happening was the most powerful thing a human body could do. And the men? Even they had a role, long before the birth itself. In many ancient cultures, fathers participated in daily ritual washings, prayer ceremonies, and protective rites designed to guard the mother and ease the coming labor. He was preparing, just differently. His preparation was spiritual and outward-facing. Hers was physical and inward. They watched what she ate. And this is where it gets fascinating. Ancient cultures across the entire world, from the Cherokee of North America to the Zulu of Southern Africa, to communities across Ethiopia and beyond, independently developed sophisticated food wisdom during pregnancy. Different continents, different languages, different beliefs, the same instinct. Protect the baby through what the mother eats. The Cherokee, one of the most documented Native American nations with a rich tradition of medicinal and spiritual knowledge passed down across generations, had very specific rules. A pregnant woman did not eat raccoon or pheasant. They believed it would make the baby sickly or could cause death. Speckled trout was forbidden. It could cause birthmarks on the newborn's skin. Black walnuts were out entirely. They were believed to give the baby a big nose. You might smile at that, but here is the thing. These women were not guessing randomly. They were observing, generation after generation, watching what mothers ate and what happened to their babies. They were doing science without calling it science, building a database of cause and effect without writing a single word down. And some of what they knew was genuinely correct. The Cherokee also instructed pregnant women to walk every day as much as possible, to keep the hips wide and open, to keep the baby small enough to pass through the pelvis comfortably. Modern midwives give the exact same advice today. Walk during pregnancy, stay mobile, keep the pelvis flexible and active. A piece of ancient wisdom confirmed centuries later by modern obstetrics. In Zulu communities, in what is now KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, pregnant women avoided mangoes, oranges, papaya, eggs, honey, and certain vegetables. In Ethiopia, cabbage, pumpkin, bananas, and avocado were restricted, the belief being that they would produce a baby too large and too fat to be safely delivered. Researchers studying pregnancy food taboos across cultures noted that many of these restrictions align with what we now understand about foods that can cause excessive fetal weight gain or digestive complications during pregnancy. Ancient women did not have the language of nutrition science, but their bodies knew and their communities remembered. They also prepared herbal medicine. Weeks, sometimes months before the labor was expected, the experienced women of the tribe began gathering and preparing plants specifically for labor. This was not improvised in the moment of crisis. It was methodical, deliberate, a pharmaceutical system built from thousands of years of accumulated, carefully observed knowledge. Willow bark, which contains salicylic acid, the exact same active compound found in aspirin, was prepared for pain relief. Wild cherry bark was made into a drink to strengthen and regulate contractions. Root concoctions specific to each community were brewed and stored and kept ready. In communities across the Amazon basin, specific plant medicines were used to slow a labor that was progressing too fast or to stimulate one that had stalled. Indigenous midwives across the world carried their own personal pharmacopoeia, not written down, but memorized completely, passed from teacher to student across lifetimes. As the final weeks approached, something remarkable happened in the community around her. The laboring woman's daily responsibilities began to disappear, quietly, without announcement, without anyone making a formal decision. Other women simply took over. Her gathering, her cooking, her carrying, the heavier work that had been hers each day was absorbed by the community around her without her having to ask. The tribe was clearing space, making room, letting her body do what it needed to do without the weight of survival tasks pulling at her energy. She was being held before a single contraction had begun, already held by the circle of women who had been watching, waiting, and preparing for her and for the life that was coming. And then the first sign came. A tightening, low and unmistakable. She knew immediately what it was, because she had seen this moment on other women's faces many times before.
not fear, recognition. She did not need to tell anyone. The women already knew. There is a particular stillness that comes over a woman in early labor, a focused quiet, and the experienced women of the tribe had learned to read it the way you would read weather coming in over the hills. Within minutes, without a word being exchanged, the gathering began. This is one of the most consistent patterns anthropologists have found across human cultures everywhere on Earth. The World Health Organization has a name for the women who do this work: traditional birth attendants. And here is the remarkable part. These attendants are not a relic of the ancient past. Right now, today, traditional birth attendants assist in 60 to 80% of all births across many rural regions of the world. The exact same role, performed the exact same way, that has existed for as long as our species has existed. Anthropologist Bridget Jordan, who spent decades studying birth practices across 4 cultures, the United States, Sweden, Holland, and the Yucatan, found that in every traditional setting she studied, the gathering of known women around a laboring mother was not optional. It was considered as essential as the birth itself. The presence of experienced women was not support, it was medicine. The first attendant to arrive was almost always the most experienced, a grandmother, an aunt, a woman who had personally delivered more babies than she could count. She did not arrive with equipment. She arrived with her hands, her voice, and decades of memory stored in her body. The laboring woman was moved, gently, without urgency, to the space that had been chosen and prepared weeks earlier. The familiar cave, the sheltered clearing beneath the trees, somewhere her body already associated with safety, because she had likely visited it many times while pregnant, slowly, instinctively, preparing the way an animal prepares a den. The attendants brought the herbal preparations made ready in advance: willow bark for the pain that was coming, wild cherry bark to help the contractions strengthen and regulate. These were given immediately, not as a last resort, but as the very first step. Ancient medicine did not wait for an emergency. It began at the very first sign. And then came one of the most overlooked details in the entire process: sound. The women around her began a low, rhythmic humming, sometimes building into the most basic kind of song. Modern researchers studying traditional birth attendants today still document this exact behavior: vocal toning, low-frequency humming, communal breathing, used deliberately to help a laboring woman regulate her own nervous system and relax the muscles that needed to open. It is, quite literally, sound used as medicine. The Zeltal Maya of Mexico use a specific low chant during labor that has been passed down unchanged for generations. Among the Wolof people of West Africa, older women sing specific birth songs that are heard nowhere else, reserved only for this moment, this threshold, this passage from one world into another. In cultures as far apart as Mongolia and Peru, the same pattern holds: women's voices, lowered and rhythmic, used to carry a laboring mother through. Long before anyone wrote the word doula, women had already invented her. There was no clock on the wall, no one timing contractions against a chart. Time in the birth space moved differently, measured not in minutes, but in the rhythm of her own breathing, in the changing intensity of each wave moving through her body. She was never, for even a single moment, alone. And what was happening inside her during all of this was about to reveal one of the most extraordinary truths about human biology: a chemical so powerful and so easily disrupted that the entire success of the birth depended on it.
Part 4. Active Labor, Positions, and Oxytocin. Title: How Ancient Women Actually Gave Birth. Nobody tells you this. As contractions deepened, something remarkable was happening inside her body.
a hormone called oxytocin. It drives every contraction. It is also the chemical of trust, bonding, and love. The same hormone released when you hug someone you deeply care about. The same hormone that floods a mother's body the moment her baby is placed on her chest. French obstetrician Dr. Michel Audent spent decades studying this exact mechanism. His conclusion was unambiguous. Oxytocin flows freely only when a laboring woman feels completely unobserved and safe. The moment she feels watched, judged, or afraid, the neocortex, the rational, thinking part of the brain, activates and interrupts the hormonal cascade entirely. Dr. Audent called it the fear, tension, pain cycle. Fear creates tension. Tension blocks oxytocin. Labor slows, stalls, or becomes significantly more painful than it needs to be. Ancient women never knew the word oxytocin, but for hundreds of thousands of years, every single detail of the birth environment they built, the darkness, the familiar faces, the absence of strangers and clocks, was protecting this exact hormone with extraordinary precision. They had built a perfect oxytocin environment, by instinct, by observation, by passing knowledge woman to woman across hundreds of generations. And then came the position. Here is what nobody tells you. She never lay flat on her back. Anthropologist Wenda Trevathan, alongside studies published in the journal Birth, confirms that upright positions, squatting, kneeling, standing supported from behind, were overwhelmingly the norm across cultures and time. Lying flat narrows the pelvic outlet and works against gravity. Upright positions increase pelvic space by as much as 30%. In ancient Egypt, women labored crouched upon 2 birthing bricks. A carving at the Temple of Esna shows Cleopatra herself kneeling in labor, surrounded by 5 attendant women. A landmark 1961 anthropological survey of 76 traditional societies found only 14 used any lying position at all. The other 62 used upright positions exclusively. So who decided lying flat should become the universal standard? Historians of medicine point to the rise of male physicians in the 17th and 18th centuries, the man midwives, who found it easier to observe and intervene if a woman lay still on her back. The position that now defines birth in most of the world was not chosen for the woman's body. It was chosen for the convenience of the person standing at the foot of the bed. As active labor intensified, the humming grew lower. Breathing became the only language anyone needed. And then, everything was about to change completely. What ancient women understood intuitively, and what modern birth science is only now fully documenting, is that the body cannot open what the mind is afraid to release. Every muscle involved in birth, the uterus, the cervix, the pelvic floor, responds directly to the woman's emotional state. A woman who feels safe dilates. A woman who feels observed and afraid tightens. This is why the birth space was never accidental. The choice of location, the choice of who was present, the absence of strangers, the familiar smells and sounds, none of it was superstition or mere tradition. It was a precise, accumulated understanding of how the female body works at its most powerful and most vulnerable. Dr. Sarah Buckley, a physician and researcher who has spent her career studying the hormonal physiology of birth, describes the ancient birth environment as having been, without anyone intending it scientifically, almost perfectly calibrated to support every hormonal system involved in labor. Darkness supports melatonin, which works alongside oxytocin. Familiar company suppresses cortisol. Warmth relaxes muscle tissue. Privacy removes the neocortical interference that slows everything down. 300,000 years of women building the same environment in every corner of the earth and getting it right every time.
There comes a point in every labor when everything gets harder. Contractions stop giving you time to breathe between them. The body is working at its absolute limit. Modern midwives call this transition. Ancient women had no name for it, but they knew it. Every experienced birth attendant in every culture studied by anthropologists recognizes this moment immediately, and they all respond the same way. In Ethiopia, attendants press warm butter onto the abdomen for pain and to help the baby move down. In Vatsanga communities in southern Africa, a special medicine called xirachari is prepared and given specifically for this stage. In Ghana, the women move in closer, more touch, more skin contact, more hands. This was not comfort for its own sake. Touch during the hardest part of labor triggers more oxytocin, the very hormone keeping contractions going. Ancient women were, without knowing the science, using physical closeness as medicine at the exact moment it was most needed. The most experienced woman in the room moved closest of all, not to give instructions, just to be there. Steady hands, a quiet voice saying the same thing over and over. Your body knows what to do. You are doing it. No beeping machine, no stranger with a clipboard, just the people she trusted most, doing what women had done at this exact moment for 300,000 years. And then the baby arrived. Not into gloved hands belonging to someone she had never met, into the hands of a woman who had done this hundreds of times before and whose hands knew exactly what to do without being told. The baby was placed immediately onto her chest, skin to skin, no weighing, no bright lights. No one took the baby away to be measured and documented, just warmth. The heartbeat the baby had heard for 9 months, and the first breath of a brand new life. A 5-year-old boy in India was once present at his baby brother's birth. Afterwards, someone asked him what he had seen. He thought about it. Then he answered one word at a time: fire, blood, water, pain. Then, after a long pause, life. That is the entire history of human birth in 5 words from a 5-year-old. But the story was not finished yet, because what happened next is something almost no modern hospital ever talks about: the placenta. Across nearly every culture anthropologists have ever studied, the placenta was never simply thrown away. In ancient Egypt, it was considered the child's secret spiritual companion, so important that it was sometimes carried beside the king in ceremonies. The Maya buried it in special vessels, believing it held a living connection to the child's future. The Kikuyu of Kenya saw the placenta and cord as the symbol of the baby's bond to its mother and its community. In Nigeria and Ghana, the placenta was given a full burial, treated as the newborn's twin. The Aztecs went even further. A baby girl's placenta was buried inside the family home to anchor her to it always. A baby boy's placenta was taken out and buried in enemy territory to plant the seed of a warrior's courage in him before he had even opened his eyes. Now, in most modern hospitals, the placenta goes into a bag marked clinical waste and ends up in a bin. The Aztecs buried theirs in enemy territory to make warriors. We throw ours in the trash. Make of that what you will. The mother rested. The baby fed. The women stayed close, tending the fire, preparing food, keeping watch over both of them. And outside, the father was still waiting. He had been there the whole time, not inside the birth space, outside, close enough to hear, far enough to stay out of the way. He had kept the fire going and brought food,
watched for anything that might threaten the space where his child was being born. He had done exactly what was asked of him, which, if we are honest, is more or less what most partners still do during labor today, just with worse chairs, a vending machine down the corridor, and absolutely no idea what to do with their hands.
Outside, he had been there the whole time. Not inside the birth space, close enough to hear everything, far enough to know that what was happening in there did not belong to him. He had kept the fire going, brought food, watched for anything that might threaten the space where his child was being born. He had done exactly what was asked of him, which, if we are honest, is more or less what most partners still do during labor today, just with worse chairs, a vending machine down the corridor, and absolutely no idea what to do with their hands. And then the women called him in. When the women finally called him in, he did not walk into a bright room full of machines and strangers. He walked into a warm, quiet space, a fire burning low, women he knew sitting calmly around a woman he loved who was resting with a new life on her chest. His first sight of his child was not a baby being weighed on a scale or tagged with a plastic bracelet. It was his family, already together, already whole. That moment, the father entering after, was not about exclusion, it was about order. Birth belonged first to the woman doing it and to the women holding her through it. His welcome came when the work was done, and when it came, it was complete. Today, most women give birth on their backs, under bright lights, surrounded by people they met an hour ago, connected to machines that measure everything except whether she feels safe. None of this is wrong. Modern medicine has saved millions of mothers and babies who would not have survived without it. This is not an argument against hospitals, but something quieter was lost. The darkness, the familiar faces, the freedom to move, the absence of strangers, the circle of women who knew her and trusted her body completely. Those things protected oxytocin, the hormone the entire process depends on, and hospitals are slowly bringing them back. Doulas, dim lighting, skin to skin from the first moment, birthing rooms that look less like operating theaters and more like somewhere a human being might actually feel safe. In 2023, the World Health Organization updated its global guidelines on childbirth, formally recommending that women be allowed to move freely during labor, choose their own position for birth, and have a companion of their choice present throughout. Guidelines that would have made complete sense to every ancient birth attendant who ever lived. It took modern medicine approximately 300 years to arrive back where women started. Not new ideas, a very slow rediscovery of what women already knew 300,000 years ago. For 300,000 years, no woman did this alone. She was surrounded, believed in, and trusted by every woman who had done it before her. If you have given birth, your body was asking for exactly that, and it was right to ask. If you haven't yet, now you know what to ask for when the time comes. And if you are a man watching this, you are here because a woman trusted her body completely, in the dark, surrounded by other women, without a single machine in the room. You owe your existence to that trust and to those women. That trust is your origin. Every single one of us carries it, whether we know it or not.